Upon the return of the true daughter, I found myself back in the village. My former fiancé, who resides far away in England, sent me a message. "It is snowing in London, and I miss you dearly. What are you up to?" I replied, "I am feeding the chickens." Qin Yuli then inquired, "Will you bring the chickens to see me before Christmas?" I declined, stating, "I cannot. My grandmother would surely punish me. Furthermore, do not message me again. Your betrothed has been replaced." When Qin Yuli messaged me, I was in the village tending to the chickens. "It is snowing in London, and I miss you. What are you doing?" I scattered a handful of corn on the ground, freeing my hands to respond, "I am feeding the chickens." He has always been one to maintain a cheerful demeanor. Britain has entered its winter time. "Will you bring the chickens to see me before Christmas?" I glanced at the free-range chickens nearby and then looked up at my grandmother, who was cleaning up after them, and regretfully informed him, "I cannot. My grandmother would surely punish me. Moreover, do not message me again. Your betrothed has been replaced." Qin Yuli took a few minutes to respond, then sent a voice message. The signal here is quite poor, and his voice crackled through with static. "What do you mean replaced?" Before I could respond, he continued, "Is there thunder on your end? I recall that you are afraid of thunder." "There is no thunder. A tractor just passed by." I enunciated each word carefully, striving for clarity. In truth, I am not the daughter of the pace. I am currently in the countryside feeding chickens. Initially, the arrangement was for the pace daughter, and it should now be changed. There was a brief silence on his end. Before he could speak again, I hung up and decisively blocked him. This marriage was merely a transaction of interests between the two families. Now, the disparity in social standing renders any union impossible. It is better to endure a brief pain than a prolonged one. I covered my face as tears threatened to spill forth. Then I remembered that I needed to go collect the eggs next. I would save my tears for another time. As I departed from the Pei family, I took nothing with me. My adoptive parents repeatedly urged me to take my clothes and jewelry, but I gracefully declined all offers. Their biological daughter, Pei Yingxi, stood by, having grown up in the countryside, vibrant and unreserved. With her clear, sparkling eyes, she cheerfully remarked, "The mix-up was merely an accident. It is not your fault. You are welcome to stay." I replied, "But I have lived a good life in your stead for so many years. At the very least, allow me to experience the life you once lived." My words felt overly verbose, and I nearly bit my tongue. She scratched her head and said, "All right then." Before leaving, I only added paying she on WeChat. She promised to send me a PDF version of postpartum care for sows and encouraged me to reach out with any questions about pig farming or raising chickens. With a heart full of courage and Yingxi's concern, I boarded the bus back to my hometown, embarking on a life of gathering pig fodder in the mountains and feeding chickens in the valleys. In the past, Qin Yuli had told me, with the onset of British daylight saving time, our time difference has increased to 8 hours, granting us an extra hour to love each other. After spending half a day in the village, I had come to understand. The notion of love seemed trivial. My sole concern was when my hens would lay eggs. Thus, I turned towards the chicken coop. The hen was nestled on her eggs, leaving me at a loss for how to proceed. After much contemplation, I opened WeChat and asked Yingxi, what should I do if the hen is sitting on the eggs? She sent a lively voice message. "Sister, first feed the hen some corn before attempting to retrieve the eggs." This is the famous Ajimita law. I gathered a handful of corn and scattered it for the hen. Then, I reached in to gently extract a warm egg. After placing the egg down and washing my hands, I replied, "Thank you, Yingxi." "Oh, why are you being so polite?" Just as her voice message was playing, it abruptly stopped, interrupted by my adoptive mother's voice in the background. "Pei Yingxi, could you please speak properly?" I chuckled softly, then felt a twinge of guilt. Perhaps I should strike a wooden fish later to accumulate some good karma. That evening, the family gathered around a wooden table for dinner. I felt somewhat awkward, only daring to take vegetables from in front of me. My grandmother tugged at her apron and spoke in her imperfect Mandarin. "What is it, Jianji? Is the food not to your liking? I'll kill a chicken tomorrow." I hurriedly shook my head no. She nodded, her demeanor a bit anxious. "That's good. If you need anything, just say so." I agreed. Life here was quite pleasant, though it felt a bit unusual at first. Later that night, Pei Yingxi video called me. She lay on her bed, propping her chin up. "Are you getting used to it, sister?" I replied, "I will gradually adapt." She sighed. "When will I ever learn to respond to you with such emotional intelligence?" I smiled. "You're so clever. You'll learn quickly. Your words are so sweet, sister. Let's go gather pig fodder together someday." I nodded. "Sounds good." Just as we were discussing our current lives, Ingshi abruptly changed the subject. Why did you block my brother-in-law? Brother-in-law? I hesitated. Who? Qin Yuli. At that moment, I was at a loss for words. Ingshi had just returned to the Pei family and didn't he seem to be aware of the situation. I asked, why discuss him? She replied, he asked me to convey a message to you. Oh dear, I have a bit of an accent when speaking English. Let me record it for you. It was a line from The Lord of the Rings. I would rather share a brief mortal life with you than face the vastness of the world alone. Sister, do you have anything to say? I pondered for a moment, unable to articulate much. Tomorrow morning, there will be sweet potato porridge. And don't forget to add pickled vegetables. Ingshi laughed, her eyes crinkling with joy. You really know how to eat. The following morning, the rooster crowed. I awoke at the sound of the rooster, enjoyed a steaming bowl of sweet potato porridge, and was pleased to have it paired with pickled vegetables. Then, I could carry my basket up the mountain to gather pig fodder. My grandmother insisted, you can rest at home. There's no need to work. I insisted, I want to do the work that Ingshi has done. She patted my head, looking somewhat puzzled. I slung the basket over my shoulder, took my sickle, and followed the path Ingshi had shown me up the mountain. The trees were dense and the foliage thick. After a long while, I saw no sign of another person, only the sound of the wind rustling through the leaves. After half an hour of cutting, fear began to creep in. Since childhood, my adoptive mother had warned me not to venture alone into such places, as even if something were to happen, it would be hard for anyone to notice. The more I thought about it, the more frightened I became, and I hurriedly dashed down the mountain with my basket of grass. I ran too quickly and stumbled. By the time I returned home, I was quite disheveled, my hair a mess and covered in leaves. Remembering the hardships Ingshi had endured only deepened my guilt. Once I had signal, I messaged her, I'm sorry. Ingshi replied, ? Sister, what happened? I choked up a bit. I didn't realize you had it so hard before. Ingshi responded, I wasn't suffering. What were you up to? I replied, gathering pig fodder. She said, turns out I am the original pig fodder expert. Hand over the sickle. I couldn't help but laugh, my spirits lifting considerably. I thought I would miss Qin Yuli immensely. However, while tending to the chickens, I found I had no time for such thoughts. I truly felt fragile. Upon learning that I was not his biological child, I felt shattered. Yet, the farming work somewhat alleviated this pain. When I became busy, I could temporarily cast everything aside. Over the course of more than a month, I exchanged experiences with Ingshi while Qin Yuli sought various means to relay messages to me. I felt conflicted, oscillating between feeling emotional and being unyielding. By mid-December, it was customary for Qin Yuli to take a Christmas break. At this time, I would usually fly to London to celebrate with him. But now, I feared he might roast my chickens as if they were turkeys. It was a jest, of course. Our differing backgrounds made it impossible for us to be together. The village experienced its first snowfall. I recorded a video and sent it to Ingshi, who excitedly expressed her desire to return and see it. She missed her original family as well. During our conversation, she casually mentioned, Qin Yuli has returned to the country. I paused in surprise. Really? She replied, he will also come to find you. If he were to seek me out, I would need to prepare an extra serving of sweet potato porridge. That night, I dreamt of Qin Yuli. He was dressed in a camel-colored coat, walking beneath angelic lights as snowflakes fell like feathers. The warm yellow glow of streetlights reflected in his eyes as he said, once I graduate, let us get married. I recalled having once answered, sure. Yet in the dream, I earnestly rubbed my hands together. No, my sow is about to give birth. I must return home. Then I was jolted awake by the crowing of the rooster. I got up, donned my large flowered coat adorned with red peonies, and took the feed towards the chicken coop. After feeding the chickens for a while, I returned to enjoy a steaming bowl of porridge. Life was so simple and unadorned. Near noon, Ingshi finally arrived. The car stopped in the yard. She opened the door, lifted her skirt, and dashed inside, calling out Grandma like a fledgling returning to its nest. My adoptive mother slowly emerged. The moment she saw me, her brow furrowed, a hint of concern in her eyes. Jianji, you've lost weight. She came to my side and, as always, took my arm. Once you've had your fill of hardship, come back. Ingshi wouldn't mind having an extra sister. Ingshi is a wonderful person. I knew she wouldn't mind, but returning would be unfair to her. I shook my head. Let us leave it be. She has endured such a life for over 20 years. I am aware that Ingshi still requires considerable time to adapt with her family. In contrast, I share a more intimate bond with my adoptive mother, resembling her more closely. The financial resources of the Pei family are ample enough to provide both daughters with a life of luxury. However, I cannot, with a clear conscience, claim what rightfully belongs to Pei. I have already lived more than 20 years of a fortunate life on her behalf. My adoptive mother sighed, refraining from further comment, her gaze drifting towards the distant mountains. At noon, grandmother slaughtered a chicken. We each received a chicken leg, one for myself and one for Pei. I had rarely consumed meat with bones before, as it lacked an air of elegance.
Pei, un burden, dove nigerli.
My adoptive mother frowned slightly, casting an annoyed glance her way. In front of so many, she pursed her lips, ultimately choosing silence. After the meal, Pei took the dishes to the kitchen. My adoptive mother whispered in my ear, Ingshi simply cannot compare to you. You were raised by me personally and are far more sensible than she is. I hesitated briefly but ultimately chose to address her as Aunt. Aunt Yun, Ingshi will be upset if she hears that. In the past, she simply didn't have to learn. In the future, she will improve significantly. She sighed, all right. I stacked the remaining plates on the table and made my way to the kitchen. Pei was already scrubbing the dishes with a sponge. Her movements were quite adept. I set the dishes down and stepped forward, saying, let me handle this. She replied, I can clean them better than you. Indeed, she could. I insisted. It's not proper to let you do the dishes. After a bit of playful tugging, Pei made a bit of room for me.
Fine.
Let us wash them together. Watch my superior technique. I'll ensure they're spotless. In the afternoon, Pei donned her old knitted gloves and sought me out to build a snowman. As she rolled the snow, she engaged me in casual conversation. Big sister, why aren't you dating Qin Yuli? The wind was rather cold, so I covered the lower half of my face with a scarf and muttered, because the Qin family values social standing. She replied, but if you both like each other, that's enough. I didn't wish to be entangled with him, only to have our elders intervene at the conclusion. Moreover, Qin Yuli was meant to be Pei Yingshi's childhood companion. I was at a loss for words, merely lowering my head and softly stating, once his family cuts off his funding, he will behave. Mentioning Qin Yuli made my chest feel tight, as though a net were cast across my heart, rendering my sorrow difficult to express. Pei remarked, all right, I don't quite understand. Let us talk about the sows at home. The family's sow was nearing labor. She began counting on her fingers how to care for a sow post-delivery. As she spoke, she looked earnestly at me. Jianji, you don't need to feel that I suffered in the past. In truth, I was quite happy. I was the only child at home, and the adults seldom made me work. It was I who wanted to help. I even majored in veterinary medicine in college, specifically to return to the village and assist with the sows. She paused, grasping my hand. Let us not engage in internal strife. I nodded, my nose tinged with emotion. Thank you, Ingshi. Just as we finished building the snowman, Qin Yuli arrived. The yard could not accommodate a second vehicle, so he had to park at the village entrance and walked through the not-too-thick snow to reach us. Pei sprang to her feet and hurried indoors, saying, You two chat, I'll take my leave. I hadn't seen him in 3 months. Snowflakes clung to his eyelashes, and his pale face was flushed from the wind. Jianji, he began. I may not know how to steer a boat, but if you were on a distant shore, I would brave the storms to seek out this treasure. This romantic phrase he had uttered to me many times before. Yet my perspective had shifted entirely. What talk of boats and steering? Next time I return home, I will travel in economy class and be content. I replied, I don't understand. Speak plainly. Qin Yuli conceded. Even if you're in the village, I will still come to find you. Let us talk, Jianji. We walked along the rural path. His voice, rich and smooth like fine wine, fell upon my ears. This is the first time I've seen you in such a floral coat. It looks lovely. I sighed. I am no longer the eldest daughter of the Pei family. I was raised to believe that even in love, one must consider social compatibility and avoid charity cases. Though I now find myself in the lesser position, the principle remains. Even if I were to elevate myself, I would always be beneath you. While you were in London, gazing at the angel lights, I was in the chicken coop feeding the chickens. Qin Yuli teased, Cluck cluck, come feed me. I was momentarily speechless. He had so effortlessly interrupted my melancholic thoughts. I had been prepared to shed tears in the snow, yet now, the sadness I had cultivated dissipated. He placed his hands in his coat pockets, as if nonchalantly stating, All right, I admit, I'm not particularly humorous. But, Jianji, our love is sufficient. My voice trembled slightly. You are always so idealistic. He lowered his gaze, fixing it upon me. Your words still love me. It felt as though a punch had landed softly on cotton. He declared, I only recognize you, Jianji, regardless of whether you're feeding chickens or shoveling manure. I posed a question. What if your parents disapprove of you being with a faux heiress and cut off your funding? Your days abroad would be quite challenging. Qin Yuli replied, I have a full scholarship. Tuition is not an issue. I've also prepared in advance. I've chosen the safest and most economical means of transportation. I can take a bus to the northwest and then walk 100 kilometers each day. Crossing the English Channel may pose some difficulties, but I'll buy a swimming ring that goes around my neck. Rest assured, I've chosen a glow-in-the-dark one, so I can swim at night. How long I swim will depend on the wind direction and force. There's also free self-serve seafood at sea, and I can manage sashimi. I need not worry about accommodation. I could become homeless and even receive welfare benefits. He rambled on, and I needed a moment to process his words. Upon hearing about walking 100 kilometers, my mind began to spiral. Did you perhaps take the pig's head from the museum to adorn your own neck? He chuckled, no. I merely wish to show you my sincerity. I exhaled lightly, please give me a little more time. A time to restart my life. Qin Yuli expressed a desire to see what I typically do. I took him to the pigsty, donned my sleeves, and skillfully poured feed into the trough. The sow was nearing delivery and required medication for deworming. The scent within the pigsty was far from pleasant, yet he exhibited no signs of distaste. In the future, I'll cut grass for the pigs, and you'll feed them. We'll live happily ever after. I regarded him calmly. You have no idea how treacherous the mountain paths can be. Qin Yuli responded, I have learned rock climbing. I was left speechless once more. He continued, what I mean is, love can transcend mountains and seas. All obstacles can be overcome. I rubbed my temples. Don't flatten mountains and seas. If you're idle, go shovel pig manure. He retrieved a bamboo broom from the corner and indeed began to sweep. After finishing, he looked at me earnestly. Should we take the dung to the fields? I shook my head. No need, it's winter now. He returned the broom to its place. Though it's winter, my heart remains warm. Nearby, the pigs grunted and the chickens clucked, yet his voice resonated clearly in my ears, akin to a stone cast into a lake, stirring ripples within my heart. I turned my head, forcing down my emotions. I have been feeding chickens here for a month. My heart has grown harder than chicken droppings frozen for 2 days. He sighed wistfully. Some are in love, some watch the sea at night, and some fail to cross oceans in pursuit of their fiancé. I muttered to myself. Some rise early to feed chickens and still get pecked by them. Qin Yuli resides in a quaint inn at the village entrance, while Pei Yingxi intends to stay in the village today as well. She confided that she has formed an emotional bond with the family pig and feels compelled to assist in its delivery. I am uncertain how she managed to convince her adoptive mother. Before departing, her foster mother bore an expression of helplessness, but refrained from reprimanding her. That night, Pei Yingxi came to my room, clutching a pillow. We gathered around the old-fashioned fireplace, basking in its warmth. The flickering flames illuminated her delicate features. Sister, the Qin family has revisited the marriage proposal shortly after you left, I remarked, feeling a twinge of sadness. I suspected as much, I replied. She assured me, I would never covet your partner. However, Qin Yuli's father insisted on giving me his WeChat contact. My heart tightened. And then, I inquired. She continued. Then Qin Yuli rebelled. His bank card has been restricted, and he is now flying back in economy class. He is likely to face the prospect of becoming homeless abroad. Seeing his sincerity, I agreed to relay a few messages to you. My mind went blank for a moment, instinctively recalling Qin Yuli, the once extravagant scion, now troubled over the cost of a plane ticket back home for my sake. A heaviness settled in my chest. Please tell him to cease this behavior, I implored. Pei Yingxi waved her hand dismissively. You both have mouths. I shall not be the messenger. Now let us discuss more serious matters. I acquiesced. All right. Outside. The sound of falling snow could be heard. The warmth of the room was perfect for a heartfelt conversation. Pei Yingxi, still clutching her pillow, lowered her voice. Actually, before I returned home, I harbored significant grievances towards you. I knelt in remorse. I am truly sorry. She replied, no need for further apologies. Before meeting you, I thought if you were to target me like those other pretentious socialites, I would rally 100,000 internet followers to devise schemes against you. Yet, you arrived here devoid of any pretense, willing to assist your grandmother. She stroked her chin, feigning sophistication. You are quite different, woman. Leaning closer, her eyes sparkled. It seems we are rather fated to have been mistaken for one another. I nodded, a smile creeping onto my lips, indeed. It was an improbable chance that I found myself on the trajectory of her intended path in life. She sighed, however. My biological mother appears quite dissatisfied that I have spent over a month studying without securing a position in the company. I reassured her, it's merely a matter of time. You managed hundreds of chickens. Managing people will be no challenge at all. I still find myself pecked by chickens. Pei, Ingshi chuckled, with your stature. Aren't you supposed to dictate which ones live and which ones die? I responded, while that is the case, I cannot be executing every chicken's lineage daily. She pondered, but speaking of which, would you consider joining me at the company for further training? There are certain matters I genuinely do not grasp, such as why there are 12 liters present but only 11 glasses of water. Please assist me, sister. After all, I am but a weak and helpless veterinarian. As for Grandma, I will arrange for assistance. You can't perpetually be feeding pigs, can you? After a moment's hesitation, I nodded in agreement. After viewing that paternity test, I remained in a daze for an extended period, unable to sleep through the night. I was at a loss as to how to restart my life. I had been following a predetermined path. At 22, I completed my studies in business information management and began working in my family's company, with plans to marry Chin Yuli in a few years. All of these aspirations were shattered by that piece of paper. I could no longer justify my position in the company and was uncertain of my next steps. In my confusion, I returned to the village to manage a few hundred chickens and negotiate prices with pig traders. My grandmother would often rub her hands together, beaming with a mixture of warmth and aloofness as she praised me. Jianji studied abroad. She is quite clever, selling pork for over 10 yuan a pound. I could only smile in response, though my thoughts wandered elsewhere. What was I to do moving forward? How could I relinquish my previous arrogance and seek a humble job to support myself? I had no answers. Now, Pei, she spoke up, believing I could assist her. I felt like a drowning person who had suddenly grasped a piece of driftwood. With tear-filled eyes, I choked out, "Thank you, Ingshi." She replied, "No. I should be thanking you, sister. Now, let us sleep." She tugged the blanket, covering both of us, and said, "Good night, Makabaka." I was unable to sleep. In the dead of night, I stealthily rose, donned my floral coat, and stepped outside. I removed Chin Yuli from my blacklist, trembling as I sent him a voice message. He answered immediately. His voice was gentle, reminiscent of our usual conversations, with a rising intonation and a hint of laughter. "Snow is falling outside. And my heart feels the same. Has my fiancé come to douse my spirits again?" Feeling a pang of nostalgia, I hesitated, unsure how to begin, and simply asked, "Have you purchased your ticket back to London?" He replied, "Yes." Only 2 words. I already knew the answer. "Economy class?" He remained silent for 3 seconds before responding with a laugh. "You guessed right." He then boasted, "I waited a long time to secure that ticket. It only cost me 1,600. I sighed. Youth has no price. A direct flight to London with a budget. He feigned nonchalance. "I might not return for Easter. The next time I come back will probably be after graduation. By then, my wings will have strengthened, and my father will no longer have any hold over me. Then," his voice softened, "let us not part ways, all right?" Chin Yuli had taken 99 steps towards me. I heard myself reply, "All right." A few days later, the family pig gave birth. Pei Shi personally assisted in the delivery and provided postnatal care. With that long-anticipated task completed, she insisted on taking me back to the city. Once more, I found myself in the family car, Pei Shi sitting beside me. Nervous yet excited, she clutched the hem of her clothes tightly, her hands trembling. "I'm about to embark on a new adventure, Jianji." I smiled at her. "Good luck, Ingshi." The car slowly exited the village. I glanced back one last time at the place I had only briefly called home. Upon her return, the Pei family had not formally acknowledged her identity. Yet everyone was acutely aware. As we entered the company together, the glances exchanged were laden with unspoken meaning. I remained indifferent. Her willingness to bring me into the company was more than enough for me, and I was unconcerned with how others perceived it. My position was that of Pei Ingshi's secretary. Having grown up in the company with my adoptive father, I was well versed in the nuances of human interactions and was familiar with frequent collaborators. The restaurant where Pei Ingshi first met clients was one I had personally selected based on their preferences. I meticulously compiled a list of important notes to share with her. While in the hotel corridor, I encountered an old acquaintance, Xiaoyu. Once, she had sought to cultivate a relationship with me to facilitate a partnership between her family and the Pei family, speaking to me with subservience.
Now,
She stood with arms crossed, looking down at me with derision. Pei Jianji, I never imagined you would have fallen to the point of working for someone else. I understood her motives. She sought to regain the face she had lost when she once sought my favor. I chose not to engage with her folly. Casting a fleeting glance her way, I turned to leave. She blocked my path, her tone sharp. What salary is little Pei offering you? I could match it. Working for me would be the same. She added with a pointed remark. Besides, we aren't arch rivals, are we? Did she really think I held a grudge against Pei Shi? I felt a mix of amusement and exasperation. Just as I was about to retort, Pei Shi approached. She stood resolutely before Xiaoyu, her voice resonating louder than her own. What gives you the audacity to have my sister work for you? You should be cultivating mushrooms in a cellar. If you lack a cellar, then so be it. She had always been sharp-tongued. This scathing remark took a few moments to fully comprehend. Xiaoyu was taken aback for a few seconds before her cheeks flushed with warmth. Pei Shi affectionately linked her arm with mine. Don't mind my sister's outburst. Come on, big sister, teach me how to respond with high emotional intelligence. I truly cannot handle that group of elders.
I smiled. All right.
I rented an apartment near the company. Pei Shi had repeatedly urged me to stay with her at home, but I politely declined each time. I feared that my adoptive mother would pit us against one another again, which would undoubtedly hurt Pei Shi. Ever since she stood up for me previously, my colleagues had begun to treat me more favorably. Perhaps they realized that the true and false daughters could coexist harmoniously. I joked with her. What is this? Sister's thigh. Let me have a hug. She responded playfully. Jianji, I've got your back. Qin Yuli had returned to England for school. He had begun to wield the spatula, becoming self-sufficient. It's raining in London. I miss you so much. What are you doing? The accompanying image depicted a bland yet regrettable plate of Western cuisine. I replied, please don't let it rain. I can't dry the corn. Qin Yuli responded. Oh, have you started farming again? I replied. Just kidding, haha. I'm helping Ingshi organize some spreadsheets. I then casually transferred 5,000 to him. With a note, treat yourself to something nice. Pei Shi paid me a handsome salary. I was like a commercial locust, frequently tagging along with her to various meetings for the refreshments. Dining expenses were minimal, allowing me to save most of it to support the wandering Qin Yuli in London. He sent me a shocked emoji, then declined. I love experiencing life, scavenging for food. You should keep the money for yourself, since WeChat allows for refusals. I discreetly transferred it to his Alipay. I accompanied Pei Shi to various events. Gradually, she became adept at managing all of it, engaging in witty banter with various bigwigs. Whenever she mentioned me, she would always smile and say, this is my sister, Jianji. Her demeanor reflected the attitude of the Pei family. Thus, in the eyes of many, I transformed once again into the second young lady of the Pei family. As summer approached, Qin Yuli graduated. Bai Yueguang returned to the country.
Pausing her job,
I requested leave from Pei Shi in advance to pick him up at the airport. She readily agreed and pulled out a contract from the bottom of her drawer. This is the dowry our parents prepared for you long ago, 15% of the company as shares. There are also several properties. The deeds and keys are at home, and I will bring them to you tomorrow. I was taken aback. Isn't it too early to discuss a dowry? I'm just here to pick him up. She stroked her chin. All right, that's true. But please sign it first. I replied. I don't want it. I want to take more than I deserve. Pei Shi insisted, but our parents have already decided to give it to you. After contemplating, I said, then I'll give it to you. She smiled. You're quite kind. I glanced at the time. No more time to discuss, sister. I'm off to the airport. I first took the subway and then rode my bicycle for a while. On the way, I bought Qin Yuli a cup of honey snow ice city tea. He had never tried it, so I thought I'd let him have a taste. I waited only a short while at the exit before he emerged, pulling his suitcase. Qin Yuli appeared somewhat thinner. The short-sleeved shirt he wore was an old style from last summer. Upon seeing me, he smiled. You're here, Jianji. I nodded and handed him the freshly squeezed orange juice. He inserted a straw and began to sip. Did you drive here? I replied. I came by bicycle. He confidently stated, even if you had to cycle for hours, you'd still come to see me. You truly care for me. In truth, I had also taken the subway. Never mind, I thought. I laughed. Yes, you're in my thoughts. Since Qin Yuli had brought luggage, it was inconvenient for him to ride with me. We had no choice but to take a taxi. As we set our destination, I asked, are you going home? He shook his head. My dad said if he sees me again, he'll break my legs. He had always understood boundaries, which made him easy to deal with. I never expected that in his 20s, he would rebel to the extent that his usually satisfied elders would threaten him. I felt a pang of guilt. All right then. Let's south head to my place first. I brought Chin Yuli back to my rented apartment. On the way, he received a phone call. His father's stern voice came through. Have you admitted your mistakes? Chin Yuli was stubborn. No. Dad, she is not some poor girl. She promised me that she would manage the family business with me when I returned from studying abroad. The other end trembled with anger. Whose business are you managing? It wouldn't be mine, would it?
Julie replied, no.
I'll manage yours, and she'll manage her sister's. We both have bright futures ahead. Then the call was abruptly terminated. 6 months ago, I might have felt anxious, thinking I was holding him back. Now, having worked for half a year, I had come to terms with it. Yes, I am indeed the blonde girl. So what? At dinner time, I was about to order takeout when Chin Yuli skillfully located a nearby market. Let me cook, he said. After purchasing the ingredients, he donned an apron and began chopping vegetables on the cutting board. The warm yellow light illuminated his features, exuding an extraordinarily domestic charm. Last year, our families had agreed to marry once he graduated with his master's. However, unforeseen events transpired, and no one brought it up again. Chin Yuli made a bet with his wealthy friends regarding his ability to succeed in starting his own business. Due to this wager, he borrowed several million and began to work tirelessly from dawn till dusk. Meanwhile, I continued to assist paying she with various tasks, alleviating her worries. Eventually, she became capable of handling things independently and gradually engaged with more business. My adoptive father was pleased with her progress and proudly declared in front of everyone, I have truly raised 2 wonderful daughters. He still regarded me as his daughter. Chin Yuli achieved success in his entrepreneurial endeavors. His wings had indeed grown strong. His father finally relented, urging him to return and take over the family business. As for the engagement, it still needed to be honored. Pei Yingxi granted me a leave of absence to prepare for the wedding. She presented me with a pile of notebooks. These are for you. My client's sister's best friend is getting married, and her sister gifted her many things. I cannot lose to her, can I? Such a peculiar sense of competition. I smiled broadly. You're so kind, sister. I want to cling to you forever. I had grown accustomed to the role of the younger sister. I was determined to be the devoted admirer of my sister. In the past, I had been the sole daughter of the Pei family. My adoptive parents had strict expectations, urging me to keep my emotions concealed and remain composed. I felt increasingly shackled by the term as indifferent as a chrysanthemum. I could hardly connect with several girls of similar background. Our interactions were merely courteous. Only Pei Yingxi was my true friend, the one who could genuinely call me sister. Upon learning of my impending marriage, my grandmother prepared numerous items for me. The pigs and chickens from home were to accompany me. For this, Chin Yuli designated a plot of land in the yard for a pig pen and chicken coop. His father disapproved, thinking he was being reckless again. Chin Yuli earnestly told me, the pigs and chickens are Grandma's wishes. I will take good care of them. I whispered, is it possible that Grandma's intention was to have them slaughtered for food? He hesitated. Can't we not? I can't bear to part with them. I replied, that works too. Sending the pigs and chickens off was somewhat abstract, yet understandable. On the day of the wedding, my adoptive parents and biological parents have both arrived. Among the guests, a small portion consists of my distant relatives from the countryside, while the majority are affluent kin of my adoptive parents and the Chin family. A grand screen displays the memories shared between Chin Yuli and myself. At the tender age of 16, I ventured abroad to pursue my high school education, becoming Chin Yuli's junior. With the innocent curiosity of youth, I penned, this boundless universe is nothing but an illusion to me. My naivety and lack of understanding prompted me to ask, could you speak in a more comprehensible manner? Chin Yuli responded, very well. By 18, I had accepted his heartfelt confession. Upon returning home for the holidays, owing to our family's compatibility and shared ventures, it was only natural that we became engaged. At 21, I returned to my homeland, embarking on a cross-continental romance with him. He captured every snowfall in London, extending an invitation to me. Will you come before Christmas? Until last year, when I plummeted from grace, becoming a false heiress and returning to the countryside to tend to chickens. For the first time, he defied his family's expectations, allowing his card to reach its limit. He led a frugal existence in London, nearly becoming homeless. The video concluded with his tender voice, Jianji, I cannot navigate the waters. Yet if you are on a distant shore, I would brave the storms to seek out this precious gem. This video was edited with a romantic flair. Paying, she led the applause, while below, Jean Yuli's father, cast in the role of the antagonist, wore a countenance as dark as the bottom of a pot. Jean Yuli and I exchanged a knowing smile. Henceforth, our long summer shall never wither. The narrative concludes here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and liking to support us. Until we meet again in the next tale.